Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. As the war in Ukraine unfolds, diplomats are once again preparing to gather in Istanbul in a renewed push for peace. Now, with Russia continuing its aerial assault and Ukraine holding firm on its territorial integrity, hopes remain cautious. Now, Turkey is positioning itself as a key mediator in the latest round of talks. But are these negotiations going to be a turning point or simply another diplomatic dead end? Joining me now to discuss is Mark Toth, U.S. national security and foreign policy analyst. Mark, so glad to have you here with us on TVP World Talks. Let me jump in straight and ask you this. I mean, this is the third round of talks that's about to begin shortly in Istanbul after two other ones, which led to prisoner exchanges, but of course, no ceasefire. Mark, I want to ask you, what realistic outcomes can we actually expect this time around? Anything that may be different and successful?
You know, it's sadly, I think we're not going to see much change here. I think you have to look at the representative that Putin is sending. Once again, it's Vladimir Medinsky. This is a historian that's got very ultra right-wing nationalistic Russian views. He's been advising Putin for a long time. I kind of liken him to what Albert Speer was to Hitler in terms of architecture. Medinsky is to Putin about Russian history, mythology, and the like. And the fact that he's the one leading this negotiation again in Istanbul tells me not much will happen. I think at best what we'll see is some prisoner exchanges, potentially some humanitarian issues at play, and maybe even possibly some progress on a renewed grain deal. But I don't expect much of this. Unfortunately, I believe it's just kind of kabuki theater that we're seeing here, both sides going through the motions.
I mean, I know you're just saying, that it's probably looking more like a theatrical piece. But again, I mean, and I do know here that Kremlin actually played down its expectations to reach any breakthrough. If I'm not mistaken, Dmitry Peskov actually said that as well. But then why would Russia agree? Right, to it? I mean, for mediation to take place, and this time around Turkey is trying to position itself as this mediator of this never-ending conflict, if we can say, why then Russia agreeing to meet yet again with the Ukrainians, and if so, pretend as if a breakthrough can be reached?
Right, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Yesterday, and you were correct, the Peskov, the spokesman, basically said, look, there's nothing to negotiate here. Effectively, they want unconditional surrender still from Ukraine. I think what you're seeing here is somewhat twofold. Putin continues to try to make inroads with Erdogan. There's that dynamic. So he's not going to turn down these peace talks in Istanbul in terms of seeing whether or not he can peel Turkey off of NATO in certain issues, certain regional issues that would be beneficial to Putin in the Black Sea. But at this point, nothing in Putin's mind, nor those around him, be it Lavrov at the foreign ministry or be it Medinsky at the negotiating level in Istanbul, has changed. So they're still taking a maximalist approach to the war. They still want to see all of Ukraine fall in one way, shape, or form, and that's what they're after. So, sadly, I think Russia's just playing their part in this theater, but they're doing it more for their own relations with respect to Turkey. And then there's obviously some domestic consumption in there as well. Putin and can say to the Russian public, look, we're trying to be reasonable, we're trying to negotiate. It's the Ukrainians, it's the Americans who are saying no to any kind of tangible peace effort here. And blame Washington and blame Kiev. But again, more kabuki theater.
Mark, what's Turkey's strategic interest in playing mediator here between the Ukrainians and the Russians again?
Yeah, I mean, their interest clearly is centered in on the Black Sea when it comes to a direct situation with Russia and seeing stability there in the long run. Obviously, a lot of trade goes through the Straits of Dardanelles and into the Mediterranean and elsewhere. They want to see grain shipments renewed as well so that they can make fee income off of that, et cetera. There's some combined issues with respect to Turkey's interests in Syria, wanting to stabilize that part of the world from their standpoint, that Russia might, in their minds, play a part of it. And then it's just Turkey continuing to want to expand its role on the global scale. And the stage, is what I mean there. And so you're seeing some of that. But I think Turkey at this point just views itself as a conduit for these discussions to happen. There may be a lot of talk, but there's just not a lot of substance to it, unfortunately.
Mark, I want to ask you about the opinion piece that you co-wrote, that you co-authored, entitled "Yet Another Trump Ultimatum Falls Flat in Moscow." Now, you argue that Donald Trump's 50-day ultimatum fell flat. Please do elaborate.
Yeah, Colonel John Sweet and I wrote that yesterday for The Hill, and we warned about this several weeks, when Trump first issued it, we basically said, look, this is like giving Putin a 50-day license to kill in Ukraine, because it really didn't have much teeth behind it. Yes, there were the defensive weapons being given, the 17 Patriot battery systems or so that are headed Ukraine's way. And that's good for defensive purposes, but that doesn't stop the killing on the front lines. That doesn't stop Putin's ability to keep launching these strikes using drones and ballistic missiles, et cetera. It simply allows Ukraine slightly to defend itself better. And so the fact that he was giving them that much time before these secondary sanctions, which would probably have the greatest teeth absent any kinetic use of force in terms of cutting off access to Russia's monies, coming into the country through the sale of gas and oil, it's not going to be enough. And so what John and I are basically arguing is that it had no effect, and it fell flat. I think if you look at it from Putin's standpoint, his actions tell you everything we need to know. He's continued to bomb Ukrainian civilians. He's continuing to kill. He's continuing to say to Trump, look, I don't believe you. I don't believe these sanctions are going to come about. I believe that you basically have just punted this for the summer. And if you do look at the dates of this, the 50 days ends right after Labor Day here in the U.S., which is a key holiday that ends on September 1st. So, from Putin's standpoint, it just has fallen flat. There's just business as usual for them in terms of prosecuting their war. And that's what John and I are saying, that it's not enough. Trump is going to have to give Ukraine more offensive options if he's going to bring Putin to the negotiating table, in our opinion.
Such as, Mark, such as?
Yeah, I think there, and that's a great question. There are a lot of game changers that can happen. Europe can do it by creating an Eastern Shield for Ukraine, by making a no-fly zone over it to protect those. A Western Shield for Ukraine, by making sure that Putin can't continue bombing. We've done that for Israel. Why not do that for Ukraine? We can give them the full suite of combined armed warfare weaponry that they need. Those include deep strike weapons such as JASSMs. Those are fired off of X-16s. They can reach Moscow. They're a standoff kind of weapon. That would give them more punch. And then simply more munitions along the attacking lines that would allow them to interdict Russian forces, and increasingly North Korean forces. There's a rumored number of 30,000 that are still coming their way, to interdict them inside of Russia before they can ever hit the battlefields in Ukraine. So there's a lot more. And then just simply upping the artillery shells. Ukraine continues to run very low on 155 millimeter artillery and the like, and really heavily flow those in. There's a lot more that can be done. We're just kind of doing the minimal. We're creating a defensive posture, a protection shield, if you will, for Ukraine, but we're not giving them enough so that they can go on the offensive at some point.
Thank you so much, Mark Toth, U.S. national security and foreign policy expert, for all your input here with us on World Talks.
Great. Thank you very much. Take care.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.